Hello all, welcome back to Startup Connect, a one-day virtual conference on startups, focusing on how the startups can upskill, upgrade themselves by using digital infrastructure in an effective way, especially in a new world order, keeping in mind the resilient factor. Startup Connect has been organized by APAC Digital Network, Dell Technologies, and Microsoft are presenting this conclave. And since morning, we have got two, three sessions. One was inaugural, in which we saw the presence of DST Secretary, Professor Ashwin Sharma, who gave a perspective on how DST is helping startup ecosystem in India. We had a perspective from Mr. Sridhar Gadhi, founder of Pentella. Also, we had a perspective from Dell Technologies. Then we had a presentation by Microsoft on how they're helping startups with digital innovation, and also a paper talk, and that's a talk on being positive and well-being. Um, and then we had a session on health tech, we had a session on ed tech, and now the most important part of this conclave, a specific session on fintech startups, building collaborative and robust IT infrastructure for fintech innovators. And we have with us digital transformation leaders from fintech startups with us today. Let me welcome Prakash Padariya, Chief Information Security Officer, PayU. Thank you so much, Mr. Padariya, for joining us today.
Thank you, Shavik. Thank you for having me
We're
here.
joined by Mr. Rajendra Awasthi, co-founder EPIKInDiFi. Thank you, Mr. Rajendra. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Savik. Look forward to.
Same here. We're joined by Ashwin Shenoy, Vice President Paymate. Thank you, Ashwin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Shavik. Thank you for having me here. Pleasure.
We are joined by Vardhan, Masta, Head of Digital Payments, PolicyBazaar.com. Thank you, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure. Looking forward.
Same here, and we'll be joined by Piyush Bhan, VP and GM Salucro, so he'll be joining us a short while. So, just to give a perspective to our speakers and also to our audience, that what areas we are going to cover in the next 15 minutes or 60 minutes or so, that we all know that we are living in a new world order during the pandemic, and probably like all the sectors, probably startups have also to redefine themselves, realign themselves, re-strategize their strategy, and also have to have a reapproach to the operations and how to deliver and how to upscale, how to scale up their business. And in that perspective, uh, building a resilient IT infrastructure is going to play a very important part. As we are discussing in other sessions, almost everybody has said that there is no alternative than embracing technology much more compared to earlier months and earlier years, because that is the only way out that startups can embrace technology, scale up, uh, ensure customer satisfaction, and also streamline their operations, especially in the new world order when most of the employees and people are staying home. There comes a role of remote working and all those things. We'll be discussing all those things in this session as well, because we have digital transformation leaders from fintech startups in this session. Uh, First question to all of you will be that how can fintech startups focus more on digitizing business process for transforming customer experience? Let me start with Prakash. Prakash, your thoughts on that?
So, Shavik, first of all, thank you so much. Thanks to APAC News Network, Dell Technologies, Microsoft, and especially Department of Science for inviting into this session. Uh, when the whole COVID arena started, nobody thought. Lots of team members were still in the BCP mode. Everybody thought that we all started working from home in March and it will get over in April. It's been a long time. Probably the bigger corporates to the smaller startups, everybody has adjusted to this new world. As and when we go more online, more and more founders and startup co-founders are moving towards the cloud. It's become extremely important to ensure this infrastructure is available as well as the security is maintained. So it's a quite a rapid change. Probably companies and corporates never thought that remote working will become a new normal, and it has become a new normal. In fact, some of the companies taking a very long-term decision that we will work only remote now, no more corporate offices. When it comes to startups, be it a fintech space or in terms of insurance tech or health tech, all of them are very heavily dependent on the cloud infrastructure, very heavily now. Earlier, it used to be days where there was a very heavy focus on local data centers, uh, be it in India or outside of India. But as and when we adopt more digital solutions to pick up that rapid pace, we need to have all of the solutions which is with very high availability and with the best of security. So that's my initial thought, Shavik.
Right, right. Very important point raised by Prakash. Rajendra, your thoughts on that?
So, Savik, Prakash said, thanks a lot to you. Thanks to APAC Network, Microsoft, and other sponsors for having me here. On the specific point, what you raised about fintech helping the customers in their digitization of the journey, right? I think the pandemic has brought in I what we see is a big paradigm shift in the customer preference in last 12 to 15 months. What used to be what do you say, a very premium kind of feature where you give a digitized journey to a customer for his needs, either on the say asset or liability side on the banking. I think in a very short period of time of 12 to 15 months has actually become commodity. The customer expectation, because they are sitting at home, they expect that these particular services will get available to them at their doorstep, right? So that's one change which has come in. And the technology, on the other hand, has actually enabled that change to happen at a very rapidly transformative way. So the cloud, the internet, the fintechs who are able to, digitize and provide solution to the banks and financial institution and the insurance. I think all these factors have really helped in, the digitizing as well as customizing to the individual customer segments need and bringing that services to them on their doorstep.
Right, right. I'll come back to Rajendra. Let's have a perspective from Ashwin. Ashwin, your thoughts on this? When we talk about that, how can fintech startups focus more on digitizing business process for transforming customer experience? Your thoughts on that, Ashwin?
Yes, thanks, Shavik, and as everyone said, thanks for this opportunity and having me over. Before I throw light on how fintechs can actually add value to the entire digital journey, I think we need to take two steps back and first understand, why would any organization require a digital transformation and to what extent? I think not all organizations are same, and I think any organization strategy or digital strategy should not be based on what is happening in the peer circle or in the industry as such. I think organizations need to put in a lot of time, effort in understanding what kind of efficiency and ROI will be brought in by having that digital transformation. Having said that, I firmly believe, and I come from a digital payments company. I come from Paymate, so I firmly believe, digital is the way ahead. Digital had a small transformation. It used to be called phygital, but then slowly and steadily, I think people are realizing, and the new world order has given us that exposure. It has given us that visibility. I think digital is here to stay. It has immense benefits. We've been staunch advocates of having digital platforms across organizations, across verticals. And once you understand what kind of efficiency your systems bring in, I think there are a lot of fintechs out there who are very agile, who have robust systems at the same time, being nimble organizations. They add a lot of value. I think over the years, and everyone would agree, as organizations mature, become big, there are, they suffer from, systems that are silos, systems that become too difficult to change. Switching cost becomes too high. And I think that is where fintechs step in to solve that problem. Fintechs, like I said, bring in those robust systems, and they are here to stay. So, a proud advocate of the fintech world and fintech solutions. And those are my initial thoughts.
Right. I'll come back to Ashwin. Let me also inform all of you that we have been joined by Piyush, Bhan, VP and GM Salucro. Thank you so much, Piyush, for joining us. I'll come to you. But before that, let's have a perspective from Harsh. Harsh Vardhan Masta from PolicyBazaar.com.
Thank you for the opportunity. So let me tell you, while businesses traditionally take the route of offline success followed by the digital presence, we at Policy Bazaar has gone in the reverse direction. Please bear in mind, it was during the time when one could not even order stuff from Amazon, Flipkart, and there was a huge consumer trust deficit on the online world. Simply put, people were reluctant to buy online. And contrast to this, with our success story, we have recently received the brokerage license from IRDA, which means that now we can open our offline store, we can hire insurance agents, and gives us opportunity to penetrate into the areas that we will get the chance to witness superior quality customer service. keeping in mind is Keeping this in mind, this was not possible. This was possible due to our strong system processes, and able leadership to stick with a vision that had more than a decade ago. For example, while buying a car insurance, an agent would come to your doorstep and survey the car for condition. With pandemic raging worldwide, this was not possible. We took a conscious call to leverage technology, and the survey now takes place virtually through our own application. And this is done completely online, and the process is completely digitalized. I came from payments background, where no matter how digital one gets, there was and will always be some sense of resistance on the part of consumer. We are PCI compliant, which is a gold standard in the payment industry, and we have to actively take care and be compliant at each step of the way. With new payment option coming in every day, our jobs becomes more difficult, as we have to ensure that compliance while being able to provide each and every option to the consumer. So I think this is the way, and digitalization is the way. And this, simply put, the consumer is the king, and we have to keep in mind that we have to leverage technology with this. Yeah, this is my thoughts on this.
Right, right. Thanks, Harsh. Piyush, your thoughts on how can fintech startups focus more on digitizing business process for transforming customer experience? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I've been hearing all the panelists, and I think there's a strong advocacy amongst all the panelists about the digitization and this platform that you're bringing in, and the topic that you've put together about a strong presence of digitization and how fintech can really support and help in this. Now, when we're talking about fintech, what we're saying is we're talking about finance and technology, and when you really bring in technology as part of it, what we're all trying to say is we're trying to digitize this whole ecosystem. Now, fintech and finance earlier, when we were, older times, I would say about 7-8 years back, everybody thought finance means bank, going and visiting, physical presence, anything that you want to do a cash currency, stuff like that. And there was very, very, very minimal digital currency or a digital payment ecosystem that was put in place. Now, when you really look at it, how did the ecosystem come in place? How did this information stuff started happening? What really led to this entire revolution in digitizing the whole concept in terms of money movement, in terms of payments, in terms of solutions, that really started with a strong focus as a complete system needed to change, and smaller stacks started developing. And the first change that really brought in was the UPI interface that came in. And that was actually the change that was necessary in the entire working system of banks. In that time also, two banks really hesitated in communicating with each other. They were like, why should I share my information with you, or stuff like that. So that UPI concept that came in, that really changed the entire ecosystem and pushed everybody towards digitization. Now, when we come to think of how fintechs or how startups can really help digitize the entire processes, we have folks from Policy Bazaar, folks from Paymate, folks from PayU. We have another team over here. When we talk about all of this, we're all talking about payments and the solutions around it. What can we all do together? But there are other smaller segments that the industry deals with, not just with payments. It's all about how the money is moved, how the money is saved, how the information is provided, how that money reconciliation is going to happen, whether it is relevant to me or not, whether the settlement is going to happen or not. So there's so many things that are associated when we talk about fintech, and there's so many revolutionary things that are happening as of now. To the folks who've not heard, and most of the founders and most of the team members who are here on the panel, they would already know that there is an India stack that is already in progress. And that India stack has multiple layers. That layer really started with Aadhaar, then UPI combined with it. Then there is an InsurTech layer that's going on, and there is going to be another layer, which is the healthcare infrastructure layer. So there are so many things that are happening in the digital space. A backbone is being created, and infrastructure is being laid out. Now it's all of us, all startups, all the ecosystem, all the tech savvy people, all the operational savvy people to take advantage of it. Now it's no more about things are not available, information is not available, I don't have an infrastructure. The infrastructure is there. Now what we need to do as startups is to start plugging into these infrastructures. How an Aadhaar layer can communicate with an InsurTech layer, how an Aadhaar layer can communicate with a banking layer, how how a UPI layer can communicate with a payments layer. Right now the RBI has moved on to a 24/7 settlement cycle as well, and Saturday, Sundays also you will be receiving money. You can do any EFTs on Saturday, Sunday. So there's so much change that is happening. Startups can take a lot of benefit from this. They have to think wide now, think in a bigger perspective. There's a lot of push from the central government, from the states as well, going digitized, and that digitization really helps. In the last 1 year itself, I would say our solution picked up heavily in the healthcare segment. And within the healthcare segment, they were having so many challenges with respect to payment collections, with respect to marking those payments, putting this information together. And when we onboarded them, we automated their entire payment collection process, tying up with different players in the industry. It's no more like staying in silos that, okay, I will not communicate with a PayU, or I will not communicate with a Razorpay, or I will not communicate with with a software company. I will stay in silos. Now it's all about all these companies coming together and providing a solution. We're all moving towards in a common direction where we need to digitize the processes. So it's the startups who need to share that stage, share that infrastructure with each other, so that we all can work together and provide that ecosystem, provide the solution. Yes, there will be competition. May the best player win. That's what should be the agenda in the market. But we all are there. We need to create that ecosystem, create that support system, and that's how the business processes can really be automated and digitized.
Thank you so much, Piyush, for giving a completely different perspective as well. And taking cue from what Piyush has said, that a lot of things are there, but you also talked about one very important part, is that the financial transactions and how securing those transactions, and how the technologies can be embraced by the startups, the fintech startups, to ensure automation and security of those financial transactions, because we're talking about money, finances, everything. So we have Prakash with us. Prakash, you being the Chief Information Security Officer, uh, how do you try to ensure the security of data?
Sure. So Sauvik, if you see the whole world now, we are, and especially in India, right? If you talk about the developing world, obviously they are very heavy on digital payments. But when it comes to India, India has transformed very heavily in digital payments. If I talk only about PayU, we have been introducing various methods of various digital payments. We have been evolving every month. There are just so many releases, so many new features given to the customers, to our customer. It could be as big as a pretty big e-commerce giant in India. It's a B2B platform, or probably a smaller merchant somewhere in a village in India who wants to start their own website. We have features for everybody of them. It could be a button, it could be a API gateway, it could be as simple as you put a button on your website and collect the payment, or you generate a link and send somebody to WhatsApp. and make the payment. It has become the whole dynamics of payment system. It has become so evaluated with new changes, new demand from the customers, new requirements. Our always a job is to ensure customer gets the best experience. Now digital payments becoming the new norm. Obviously fraud follows it, right? Because people or the hackers follow where there is more money. It could be the payment gateways like us. We are one of the biggest payment gateways in India, in the Indian fintech space. Obviously hackers follow payment gateways, banks. Everybody is interested in money, easy money probably, and with lots of people, especially, we have seen that lots of people at home having a free time, probably having a lesser workload. I mean, we don't have, but people may have. And obviously lots of students, right, who wants to be that wannabe hacker. In our word we call it script kiddies, where they want to try some tool here there, try on something. And we have internally robust processes around to fight the fraud. And with the amount of payments, phenomenal amount of payments which is happening online, obviously the fraud perspective is also very heavily increased. No doubt about that. And with the very heavy focus by Indian regulators, India is certain, uh, every startup, every corporate has started taking it very seriously, with government of India very heavily focusing on cyber security. And of course the IT ministry very heavily focusing on the PDP bill, which will be the most talk about bill probably in the near future as soon as it goes live and approved in the parliament. India is taking, be it a payment space or be it a personal data space, very seriously. It's no more probably a region which takes payment or the security or the policies at a later stage. Rather, government is so confident about pushing these policies and ensuring the infrastructure what we have in India, the critical infra, be it airports, be it refineries, to the fintech space, right? Be it the startups or the payment gateways or the banks, everybody is secure. And Shobik, like you said, with the phenomenal increase, obviously frauds have increased, intentionally, unintentionally. There are people who want to make quick money. There are people who want to misuse the potential vulnerabilities and take benefit of it. But with a strong Indian ecosystem, with support from government, with very strong support from our regulators, uh, every company is trying to ensure we work in a very collaborative manner, and we support our law and enforcement also. So that's my view, Shobik.
Very important view by Prakash, that that's securing that data. Moment we're talking about financial transaction per se, any data which is there in the virtual world or the online world, that data needs to be secured. And again, technology is going to play a pivotal role securing that data. That has to be there. Rajendra, your thoughts on that?
So I think, like Prakash is saying, that we are all working in the in the finance industry, and like he said very aptly, that everybody wants to make a quick buck, if without making an effort. And the digital world is actually, is making it, so easy, in the dark web, as it is called, right? Uh, so I think it just becomes so very important to have, the security layers very properly laid out, which means that the data needs to be encrypted when it is moving. Data has to be, very strong encryption has to be there when the data is in movement, data is at rest. The proper security certificates are in place. The database is properly protected, firewalls are in place. Because you look at it recently, what has happened, the breach of, say, what happened in, say, Air India, right? You people would have heard that, almost 40 million members, that frequent flyer members, the data is gone, right? So it's absolutely critical that the security of data is created at multi layers. It is not one single layer. Point number one. Point number two is that the security uh, is maintained as the prime most concern in the organization as a DNA. So like we take security absolutely in a very, very critical way, because we are dealing with the bank, we are dealing with the financial companies, and a small slip could cause massive loss or a fraud or anything like that. So these strategies following is absolutely important, absolutely critical, so that there are no breaches happen. We are dealing with some of the companies, overseas companies. They deal with for example, the private wealth investments, and they say that for us, the security is more important than anything else. We only, while the cloud is increasing, but they are saying that no, because imagine they are having 70,000 HNI customer globally, investment customers, and their data just goes out, right? It's like, the biggest blunder which could happen on the history, right? So they are saying that, that's the most important thing. So coming to the point which, Prakash has very, very rightly said, the RBI is coming out with the very right guidelines. I think they've come out with the recent guidelines that how the payment need to happen, how the lending need to happen, what kind of security need to happen, what kind of security audit need to happen. We are dealing with the banks in India and the NBFCs. What are the kind of CISO guideline have to be followed, at every step, and has to be measured. So this is, I think, the whole success of digitization, in my view, as well as the penetration and growth, depends on this critical factor, that this safety and security of the data is maintained at all level, at all time.
Right. Ashwin, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think great points that have come from Prakash and Rajendra. And I mean, we all know data is the new oil, right? And everyone's behind data, and they will do whatsoever to get hold of that. I think Prakash made a very good point very early in his introduction. The new world order has given rise to the thought process that organizations need to be capex light, opex centric, and hence they are moving more towards cloud. And once you start doing that, once you start that transition, I think you become, the vulnerability index also increases, right, for each and every organization. And hence, when Rajendra says that there are multiple layers and not a single layer of security that you need to apply, I completely agree with him. And I'll give you an example of, and this is an example closer to home, at Paymate. We are a B2B payments company, right? And all our transactions happen on the card rail, the corporate card rail. And if you go by regulations, yes, we are PCI DSS compliant, we are ISO compliant, and all regulations that have been defined by RBI and the PA guidelines have been adhered to. But we didn't stop there, because we completely understand that when it comes to data, when it comes to security, there are people involved, and discretion gets in at some point in time, right? How do you arrest that? How do you take care of the discretionary aspect? When you talk about security, so we build those checks and balances in the system, right? So we have additional layers. Just to again echo what Rajendra said, we have those additional layers of security that we built in the system, and these could be workflow related. These could be systemic in nature. This could be parameterized. What we've introduced. It's a multi-pronged approach, right? And that's the only way to sort of trick discretion, right? And to catch hold of something which is going wrong. And I think going ahead, there will be more emphasis not on mere certifications of your system, of your software, but about security. I think certifications will be a given. Security is something that will make you stand apart from the rest of the industry and your competition.
That interesting take by Ashwin. Security is going to put your company uh, apart from others. That will be the differentiator. Very important point raised by Ashwin. Harsh, your thoughts on that?
I think, yeah, everyone has made a good point. I think everyone has covered greatly. There is another point that one of the important points what we have done is the communication and the correct communication. So everyone tries to have a complete security layer at the back end. We have PCI DSS, we have everything. But so let me tell you an example of a policy bazaar. We simply communicate to the customer, because we go to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and we simply communicate to the consumer that this particular agent has talked to you. This is the history, and our payment page or whatever policy bazaar URLs always open on HTTPS, and these are the payment URLs. So we try to guide and communicate and educate customer that these are the genuine website pages, genuine payment page, and you do your payment, or you should give your data on this particular page only. Because now WhatsApp has gone down into everybody's phone, and anybody can prepare a template that this is a policy bazaar website, and at the back end they can create their own URL, right? And consumer just focus on the template and just click on the template and give his information, and he can do his payment. But we try on every call, we try to communicate the user that this is the security layers, and this is you can follow. So everybody is doing one part, that they are building their ecosystem, they are creating their layers at the back end. But the important point, this is also one of the important point is that we should educate and communicate to the user that this is the correct URL, and this is the correct place on which you have come. This is one of my thoughts on this.
Right. So for last few minutes, we have discussed, try to discuss on two aspects, if I may say. One is digitizing business process for transforming customers' experience, and also how to ensure safety and security of transactions, financial transactions, and how importance should be given on saving those kind of data and the very sensitive data. Let us go to a different level also, because we're talking about how we can ensure that collaborative and robust IT infrastructure can be made within the fintech startups, so that they are ready for the new world order demands and the need of that time. We're all living through this pandemic and living in new world order. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things will happen fast also in coming months or so. Uh, what about empowering employees through implementing remote workforce? If we talk about a remote workforce or flexible workforce, that most of us are either staying in home or going to office once in a week, or not even going to office, but it has been working for last 1.5 years or so, like that. So do you think that it has also helped startups to think, especially for fintech startups, to think that let's go this model, let's have a hybrid method, that working from home and also going to office sometimes, but for that you need a digital infrastructure. So what is the way out, and how do think that startups should go about that? Prakash, your thoughts on that?
Sure. So, like I shared earlier, Shovik, when the whole COVID infection started, lots of companies thought that some of our employees will be able to work from home. Lots of companies, in fact, were not ready, be it a hardware infrastructure at a level where companies did not have enough number of laptops to give it to employees. There was a huge requirement of procurement of laptop. The bigger manufacturers like Deloitte and HP ran out of the stock because there was just so much of demand of laptops to enable people working from home. And now lots of corporate startups started working on that, enabled it. And now it seems to be the new norm. Though there are companies, especially in the manufacturing space, which probably may not have a choice, where 100% employees can work remotely. But when it comes to the IT side of it, or ITES side of it, it has become a new norm. Obviously, corporates have realized that there's lots of savings. First of all, you save on real estate, you save on air conditioning, lighting. Employee saves lots of time traveling to and fro. Obviously, there are plus to it. There is a negative to it, right? The core collaboration with the team, what probably you have face to face in the meetings, it's not that effective when you talk virtual. I mean, we are so used to the Zoom calls and all of that, but still that personal touch is missing somewhere, right? And probably as of now we don't have a much choice in terms of working remote. But to enable people working remote, obviously IT plays a huge part, right? People, gone are the days. I mean, if you see the current corporate structure, people have left bigger cities. People are working from a smaller cities. I wouldn't even say cities, right? I have seen people who have gone as far as somewhere in Ladakh and Himachal Pradesh and working from there in a resort. They just are taking a break. Now, enabling all of them connecting to your corporate infra, they could be connecting from a fiber network in the bigger cities or probably a 3G, 4G network, is a huge challenge. Everybody is passing through ISP fibers, obviously processing lots of data, talking to the cloud where the production environments are hosted. This comes with a bigger risk. People have lots of personal time, and obviously with privacy in place, you can't keep monitoring people that what exactly they are doing on the system. You just trust your employees. Now, enabling all of this is very, very crucial. And when it comes to remote working, obviously security takes the topmost priority, because if that particular system gets infected in somewhere in a remote village in Kerala, it's a huge task to clean that machine or probably ship that machine all the way to your headquarter in Delhi or Bangalore or Mumbai and ship it back. So it has its positive and it has its negative.
Right. It has its positive, it has its negative, but I think that's why it is more important that we should have a uh, effective IT infrastructure so that this
Yeah.
remote working can actually work fast and seamless. What is your opinion on that, Rajendra?
So I think what we are seeing is that it has both positive and negative. What is the positive side of it is that, and I think as trends are emerging in the industry, where bigger companies like Amazon is saying that probably you work from home, or they are coming out saying that a class of employees you want to work from your hometown or something like that. You start working, and that means a different compensation package, and different kind of conditions and things like that, right? So those trends are emerging. But the point which Prakash is saying, I think, is absolutely important, and it becomes very what do you say, critical for a startups, where you can actually the idea generation happens much faster when you're sitting in a room and whiteboarding it, right? Four of us sitting in a room and whiteboarding, rather than doing in a Zoom call, which is very difficult to really do. When it is running for a bigger company, is much better, much seamless, because it's all process driven, and the the IT infrastructure can be in place. But I think that is where the challenge is for the startup. Is that is the one part of it. Second part of it is that I think what realization we have is that I think we all need a logical break. While when we go to office, we yearn for not going to office in Bangalore, driving 2 hours and coming back 2 hours. But sitting at home, there is no logical break of when your day is starting and when your day is ending, because there are so many small breaks in between. Your days just gets extended 9 to 12 in the night. Is very normal, and people also take it thinking that. Third thing is what happened is that probably when you work in a physical environment, what you can go and tap somebody's shoulder saying, I want to have to clarify this point, can get clarified in like in a second, may probably have to wait for 2 hours, because the guy will be having in a meeting, in a Zoom call, cannot be disturbed and all of that, right? So these are the probably the downside of it. What is the upside of it? Upside of it is that probably that cities can get decongested, where we can go to tier 2 and tier 3 cities with the all IT infrastructure coming in place, 5G coming in place, the robust other power situation is pretty good in the country now, where net is available. The workforce distribution can become much better. The talent availability can become much better, because right now we are all chasing the talent pool which is there in a Mumbai or Bangalore or Noida or Chennai, right? So there are a lot of people who are reluctant. Good guys now we are seeing when we are going to the tier 2 tier 3, lot of good guys are available. right? We are able to get that. So that's a positive side of it, that probably it's a time to spread out to those things. So this is what is there. There's no right or wrong in this particular scenario. I'll say I think it's emerging scenario. Maybe it will crystallize in a year or two, but there are both up and down on this remote working.
Yeah, so actually, when I asked this question, I was more focused on having a perspective from you. It's not about right or wrong. It's like uh, how do we actually leverage technology and innovation to ensure remote working happens seamlessly? So that was my idea. So Ashwin, if we can have a perspective from you.
Yeah, I think after 16 months of being in the pandemic, whoever you talk to now wants to go back to office, right? So I'm getting a few smiles from the panel members too. So I think even they want to go back to office. So people are yearning. That's on a lighter side. On a serious note, I think, Shavik, to be very honest, this pandemic was a trigger. And I think this was a trigger that all the organizations, badly wanted to evaluate and re-strategize on the entire manpower model, right? See, remote working is not a new concept. There are many organizations who've been doing it for decades now, right? I mean, that's been their model. They've been a very light model in terms of manpower and the office space and all of that. So, remote working has existed. What the majority of the organizations today required is this nudge, saying that here we are now mandated to ensure remote working happens. And how do we do that on a long term basis? What will be the pitfalls, what will be the advantages on a long term basis for us? And it could have been anything, right? It could have been an earthquake, it could have been any natural calamity that could have enforced us to evaluate remote working. Having said that, I think what organizations seriously need to evaluate is, when remote working, while it is a great thing to have, it shows on your bottom line as well. But how do we make the transition very smooth for employees in terms of having them comfortable in their houses, having the culture maintained, that there should be no dent on your culture, and there should be no there should be seamlessness in the technology, as Prakash mentioned some fantastic points in terms of simplicity, in terms of transition, in terms of security. I think security today is going to be, I keep repeating this, and at the sorry for that, but I think security is going to be the number one parameter that everyone is going to look at, especially with the remote working piece happening. I think these are the important points that organizations need to focus on. I think remote working is here to stay. I agree with the panel members when they say the personal touch is missing, but I think we'll slowly move towards a hybrid model.
I think that we are already moving in that hybrid mode. If we can see that how the things have changed in last 1.5 years, that either you work from home or it's a mix of whether you're working from home or coming to office. And I think it's going to be there for the next few months as well. So I think we have to adapt ourselves to that kind of reality. Harsh, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what really help us, I want to say, I want to talk about that. What really help us that in achieving this, that at a brisk speed, is our reliance on technology since day one. We were very quickly and seamlessly able to work from home scenario, because as we were always on a digital front as compared to other traditional businesses. And also, considering the situation, health insurance become term, and health insurance become the necessity of every consumer. So for that, we have to quickly move on the work from home situation, and empowering our all sales agent and all the people very very quickly. From a tech standpoint, it was as simple as flipping a switch to us to achieve. But the real challenge was to ensure device availability to each tele agent, MIS, and all the people. So this was one of the challenge. But as other people say, the personal touch was missing. So what technology has given us, that we have started video calling. So from last 2 months we have started video calling to all the customer, and it really help and empowering our sales agents, because they now the customer can feel the personal touch. So this is the power of technology, and I'm great. I am loving this part of the technology, that technology is empowering sales agent which are sitting in, see, people are sitting in Bareilly, and they are giving personal touch to the consumer who are sitting in Bangalore. So yes, technology is going to stay here, and we are empowering our people through this. Yeah, this is my point on this. Yes, we are missing our offices, we are missing our chit chat, we are missing our coffee sessions, chai ki dukan pe tabri pe jana, but I think we all are missing. Sooner or later we'll go into the office, back to our office. But yes, technology is at this point of time, technology is giving us lot of power and empowerment to our employees. This is my point.
I think I'll take a cue from what Harsh has said and others has said, and I'll come to Piyush. Technology is the game changer. Technology is the enabler, especially in this situation when we all are locked down, under lockdown, and everything happened, but still business processes continue. I think technology, the power of technology, has never been felt like this before in India, globally. So, Piyush, your thoughts on that, and then we can conclude the session.
Yeah, I think what we have to look at is this was not a sudden transformation or something that could happen overnight. If you go back, I would say 5-6 years back, and start thinking what things happened which actually helped us in delivering what we are trying to deliver. Earlier, the majority network that was available was a broadband internet connection network. You had players, the telecom players, who were giving you data at a certain rate. Then another player came in, which literally broke the entire market and enabled a lot of population to start using data and get access to, I would say, cheap data, at very, very minimal rates. And that really transformed how technology could reach multiple people easily. So, my panelists, they're talking about they could do a video call. They're talking about how we could transform the entire journey and digitize the whole process. But if people didn't have that kind of, infrastructure laid out, it wouldn't be there. So I don't say that, this thing was planned and people knew about it. That's why this whole thing was happening in the back end for the last 5-6 years. But then it's good that happened, that change happened. And change is something that is very important. That change happened, that triggered multiple things, that triggered even multiple startups, technology startups. You look at it, if the data wasn't available, if people couldn't use internet, there would not be a lot of technology startups. Making payments wouldn't have been easy through your smartphones. You would always have to go to a website to make a payment. So things like that have come and that have actually changed. Now that we look at working from home, it's been much more easy versus it was 5 years, 6 years back, because now you have that internet facility even in a tier 2 and a tier 3 city, where you can get good coverage and get good internet connection and a good bandwidth where you can do it. Now, when we look at it in hindsight and when we look at how things are going to progress, I think it's the prayers of multiple employees that's been answered, where companies were not even willing to give work from home to them. So now they are in the situation where they can work from home and really do the work that they want to do. I'm happy, personally, if you want to talk about, I'm really happy that I am getting to work continuously at home and I can concentrate. And there are very less distractions, only when it's necessary. But at the same time, if you look at from the security perspective, a lot of people who have those Wi-Fi routers at their home, they can be easily hacked. Their passwords are still at admin, administrator, admin 123. That's like the weirdest and the baddest stuff. So what really is happening, if somebody can hack into your Wi-Fi router while working from home, they can actually get access to your data. So we're all talking work from home, we're all talking about internet availability, we're all talking about the ease, but the smallest of the thing, we're not thinking about it. We're not educating team members across our own companies that, you need to change the password of your Wi-Fi router, and these are the steps that you can do it. And this is something that we as an organization, we've went ahead and we've talked about these things to our people. We've talked to them, and specifically the folks who are working from home. who work on production environment, who work on critical stuff, they are connected through VPN. So any of the data, that communication that happens, that's very critical. So as startups who are hearing and listening to this, they need to understand work from home is good. Yes, you cannot have the personal touch. We totally understand. But at the same time, we all have to ensure that it's a secured environment in terms of data exchange, in terms of the communication that you're doing. It's very, very, very important. So that data, that information is not leaked. Even if you're doing a video call, for your customers, or if you're doing a chat with your customers, that all communication should be secured, and that information should not get leaked out. If that information gets leaked out, that's a heavy price that as a company that you might need to pay. It could be in any shape or form. There are, posts that go viral because of that activity and that concern and that information that companies didn't take care of, and then they have to do a PR activity to take care of it. So these are things that should be taken care of. Yes, work from home is both a blessing. It could be a boon. It could be a bane. But if you look in a wider perspective, it's more boon versus a bane, because you're able to accomplish a lot of things with your team. Yes, you get less distracted, yes, you don't have a lot of personal touch. But I think the way forward that a lot of companies are thinking about is going to be a hybrid model, wherein you will get to work from home whenever you want. Even if you want to work from home forever, you can do that. But if you wish to come to office, we have an office. You can come in, you can set up meetings, you can meet folks, and you can do all of that. And there are a lot of activities that are being planned, wherein the companies who are going total work from home, they're also planning things like we monthly once they'll have all the team members come into the office, get together, talk, have kind of like a fun Friday or a last working day of the month. So there are different concepts that you can employ to remove that fatigue when you really talk about working from home and not getting that space. Which is what I think personally. You're working from home, it's good, very good, a very good concept, saving on a lot of costs. But at the same time, remember that you have to secure the network that you're working in. It's very important. The minimalist thing that you can do is secure your Wi-Fi router. That I would definitely say. That's my
Thank
take.
you so much, Piyush, for enlightening us with your insights and very important points raised by you, like others. A very small thing you've said, but very important, that just ensure that when you're working from home, just change the password of Wi-Fi. That's a very router. That's a very simple thing to do, but very important thing to do. And again, uh, uh, technology will be a very important aspect to the entire ball game. So with this, we come to the end of this session on building collaborative and robust IT infrastructure for fintech innovators. I thank Prakash Padariya, Chief Information Security Officer, PayU, Rajendra Awasthi, co-founder, EPIKInDiFi, Piyush Bhan, VP and GM Salucro, Ashwin Shenoy, Vice President Payment, and Vardhan Masta, Head of Digital Payments, PolicyBazaar.com, for joining us for this session. Thank you so much.